Hey everyone, welcome to the Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori. Thanks for being here. Countdown 3, 2, 1, and we're live. We're live on this side. Dr. Brian Komoto, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I'm really glad to have you. This is going to be a fun conversation because you've got so much in your intro, so I'll have to apologize ahead of time as I introduce you and kind of paint the picture of who you are. It's going to take me a minute to get through it all, but I struggle, Brian, calling you just Brian. I feel like it should be Dr. Brian, Dr. Komoto, Regent Komoto, but you've told me, hey, just Brian is fine. What do people normally call you?
They call me Brian. Students, employees, my customers, even though I have this degree, I want them to feel like I'm their friend and they could trust me and can open up to me. So that's why I do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's reasonable. So that gives me some comfort in just being able to casually call you Brian. But happy Friday. You ready for the weekend? You got any big plans?
No. In fact, we've got some Regent things that I've got to read up on. So
we were just talking about Regent responsibilities, so we'll go through that. But I'll just do a quick intro. Today, I'm here with Brian Komoto, entrepreneurial pharmacist and president and CEO of Komoto Healthcare, a multifaceted healthcare enterprise employing over 150 employees, serving patients from San Joaquin County to Los Angeles. Brian, you're a licensed pharmacist, a voting alumni regent on the University of California Board of Regents. That's the 26-member governing body of the University of California's system. You're responsible for setting university policy, or a part of the board that's responsible for setting policy, overseeing financial affairs, approving tuition and fees. It's kind of a big deal. You're vice chair of the Public Engagement and Development Committee, the Advocacy and Alumni Outreach Committee of the Regents, and you're president of the Alumni Association of the University of California, San Francisco. And there's more. Not to mention, I know you're a really active member of your community and of numerous professional associations. You're a recipient of many honors and awards in recognition of your efforts to really improve healthcare in the Central Valley, California, and in the nation, which I think is what you set out to do when you started your company. You were recognized in the California Pharmacy Hall of Fame. All of this in addition to family and personal life. Brian, how in the world do you make time for it all? What did I miss in there, if anything?
It's gradual. I mean, these things, happen kind of in sequence, and I'm sure we'll be going over that.
Yeah, well, we will. We'll unpack it all, and I want to get a sense of sort of, what you do, how you got here, the lessons that you've learned along the way. We've got a lot to talk about because I think even with all that, I think I'm probably just skimming the surface of who you are and what you do. But, kind of before we start to dive into all of, like I said, the lessons that you've learned along the way, is there anything besides work that keeps you personally busy these days? What do you like to do in your free time, which I can imagine you probably don't have a lot of it?
Well, if I wasn't working, I'd have a nice glass of wine in my hand, watching sports. That's typically what I do, or working in the garden.
Oh, okay.
I do like a Japanese garden, so my front yard and backyard are my hobbies, along with the basement, the wine cellar. The
basement, is that also where you're watching sports? Is that an all-in-one place?
No.
I love I'm glad you brought up the wine because, I know that wine is really important to you. I've been at events with you where you've, graciously brought out some really nice wines that you share. I know you really enjoy sharing the wines that you have, that you've collected over the years. I know they play an important role in your family. You've told us some really fun stories. When did you start your wine collecting appreciation journey?
I don't know if it's legal for me to say it, but I'll say it.
Okay.
I have a cousin who actually is a winemaker, or was a winemaker.
Okay.
He's since retired from that. But he went to UC Davis, graduated from the enology program, and then started working for a company called Inglenook.
Okay.
Which is now Francis Ford Coppola Winery.
Ah, okay, yeah.
All right, and he was making their white wine. So during holidays, and he's an older cousin of mine,
Mm-hmm.
so during holidays, he would bring home for Thanksgiving and Christmas wines from the winery,
Okay.
and usually very nice wines from the winery.
Yeah.
So I was 16 at the time. I asked my dad, "Hey, can I try some of these?"
Sure. Yeah.
So my father said, "Okay, let's set the ground rules now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't leave the house. You
Mm-hmm.
only do it with family and only on these special occasions." I said, "Okay,
That's a deal. That's
yep,
reasonable.
that's a reasonable deal.
Yeah.
Ron, teach me." So he taught me early on
Wow.
that, how to really appreciate the artistry in the glass.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started learning. And then, of course, I went to the first school I went to graduating high school was UC Berkeley, which is 30 miles from Napa. So
Mm.
it was an easy jaunt on a Friday or a weekend to go up there and taste a couple of the wines. And I eventually really began to get a good appreciation of it.
So I have to imagine while the rest of your college buddies are drinking beers on a Friday night, you're out wine tasting. You're headed up to Napa for some wine tasting.
And it was so fascinating because
Yes.
at that time, this is the early 70s, the winemakers are in the showroom pouring.
Mm.
And so I got to taste with, Joe Heights, some very famous winemakers. And that really helped solidify my passion. And they taught me a ton of things.
Huh. Well, as we get towards the end of this, I'll have to circle back and see if perchance there is some winemaking in the future. Maybe if that's like your next career pivot or something, because you've been at it for so long.
Work.
Okay.
Too much work.
All right. Well, there's the spoiler alert. There's the answer. Brian, today you're managing and running your own pharmaceutical company, Komoto Healthcare. You're specializing in delivering pharmacy-related services, serving the needs of your community, partnering with hospitals and health plans. I know the organization has evolved and grown. Now there's 5 companies, including your family foundation. Talk to me a little bit about what it takes to keep the wheels spinning on all this. I'm sure you're really busy. Maybe though as it's evolved, are you still kind of in the day-to-day leadership? But what does a day in the life look like for you running your company?
Actually, I have more free time.
Oh, how so?
Well, and that's why I'm so involved in community related things. We have very good employees that support our company and run various facets. And that's always been one of our goals and philosophies is to help encourage our employees to learn while they're working and keep moving up. I mean, we have people we're the only job. We started in 1981 and we were their only job and they retired with us.
Wow, that's a testament to your leadership and to the work culture there. Is that tough though you start, a company, it's a family started company, you're running it, you're putting in all the work, and then to be able to hand it off in that way and to have that trust and faith, it sounds like it was intentional. Was that hard for you or no, it came naturally?
It came almost out of need as you're growing.
Yeah.
We get busier. I have to bring someone else in, but I can't spend the time to train them. So I have to have someone who's worked with us begin to train them. So it was important that I set those steps ahead of time so that person can do it effectively.
Huh. All right. That's a smart way to do it. And especially if you've gotten to this point where you've got a successful company, you've got more time than ever. And it gives you time to do this regent role, to perform this regent role. That's where you and I first met during your first term as an alumni regent while I was president of the UC Irvine Alumni Association. But you're a voting regent now. So can you tell us a little bit about what that entails, how you fit it into your busy schedule, but how does one become an alumni regent? How's the experience been? Kind of walk me through it.
Actually, it took me by surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what the process was to become one. I just got a call that I've been offered an appointment to the Board of Regents.
And did you know
And
much about the Board of Regents at that time?
the only thing I knew about the Board of Regents is what everybody else does: read in the newspapers, and you read about them a little bit.
Right.
So I said, "Do I have to answer now?" When I got the call, and they said, uh, "No, this is kind of unique, but no, you don't have to." I said, "Give me a weekend. I just need to look into this a little bit."
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And what conclusion did you come to?
Well, I called some friends, and one of my colleagues said, "Brian, when you get this kind of offer, you do not say no."
Yeah, exactly. Regardless of how much work it's going to take and how, the stress and the responsibility that comes with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. From what I've come to learn, I mean, it really is kind of an opportunity of a lifetime almost, especially of a professional lifetime. Has it lived up to the expectations? And give us some insight about the role that you play there.
Probably more than exceeded my expectations, and a lot of it has to do with the interactions and some of the things you're reading about right now between the federal government and the University of California.
Yeah, what a time.
Yes. So, but I don't mind that kind of pressure.
Okay.
That has never been something I shied away from or regretted getting involved in. When I see the pressure mounting, to me, that's a call to action. It's a call to step up and really look into the things. I realized early on, as I saw, you're not a voting member when you first step up there. And I saw the amount of effort and the kinds of questions the voting regents took in time and decision making. And I began to appreciate the gravity of what we were doing, which is truly, making decisions that are going to impact hundreds of thousands of people, and in terms of work as well as the environment within the state.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'm beginning to understand.
Yeah.
So it is truly a responsibility now to read the materials and make sure that the decisions I'm voting on are the ones I believe are the correct ones.
Yeah, because the University of California, I mean, plays a major role in the state's economy and just sort of it's a big institution. It's a really big institution, right? You're 10 different campuses, representing the entire state, a lot of research, medical, health and wellness.
5 healthcare systems.
Yeah.
The research is enormous. I didn't understand how enormous until we met the attorneys and got an orientation with the attorneys, and they're writing an average of 2 patents a day.
Whoa, geez. Wow, that's interesting to know.
That tells you how much discovery is happening on these campuses.
That's right. Yeah, and science and innovation, the arts as well. I mean, there's a lot coming out. So what a great, I'm really proud. Sports, yeah, thank you. Athletics. That's I'm really proud to be a representative from my campus as an alumni from UC Irvine, and I know you are as well. So thanks for the work you're doing there, because I know, like you said, you're going to spend your weekend doing that work. Were you always an engaged alumnus at UC San Francisco or Berkeley?
No, at the beginning when I left the School of Pharmacy, from Berkeley, I went into UCSF, graduated with my PharmD, and then purchased a pharmacy in Delano. And that's a whole story all to itself. But nevertheless, as we started that business, I had to focus on really understanding my community, the needs of my patients, and then began to play a role there. And it's actually the roles that I played in my local environment that the state pharmacy association began to see the things I was doing, and eventually the school did. So
Ah,
they called me back.
yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Same with me. I was called back almost 20 years later, right? Because I was totally
Right.
disengaged. But I like how you're saying the work that you were doing because it was being recognized, right? It was being recognized like,
Yes.
hey, we need you back here. And was that an easy thing to say yes to? Because you could have been like, no, I'm just too busy. I've got my work here. What value did you see in kind of going back and connecting with UC San Francisco?
I've always had a mission, even when I was, young, to be involved at the church level and even in school
Mm,
in different fundraising and programs that were going on campus and in my community. So it it was easy for me to fit that into the schedule.
Why do you think that was? Why was that something that you always wanted to be a part of and that you wanted to support?
There's so much reward you get from really seeing the things that you do on a volunteer basis that mean something to someone else.
Mm,
And when you give, you receive in my mind, you receive a lot more back. So it's never been difficult for me to step out and help.
yeah, it's fulfilling, right? So you get
Right.
something back. It almost becomes a selfish endeavor. Giving and doing good for others is like, hey, that makes me feel good, So
Yeah, right.
there's a win-win.
There's that, and it also gives you stimulus to continue to move forward.
Mm,
It's I'm not doing something just for myself. There's someone else who's needing something, or you just get that extra energy to do it.
yeah, I like that. Well, I know you sent me your CV so that I could prepare for this. There's other things I went to the UC website to learn about you. You can get out there and find all the things you've done. But since I've learned a little bit about your family business history, it's all so impressive. But I also know that great careers like yours don't just happen; they're built. And so you started to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit with me. I want to do a little reminiscing and talk about how you got here. And I think you were about to say, but I think the story starts something like, immediately after your PharmD in 1981, you and your wife, with your 1-week-old son in tow, you purchase a small community pharmacy. You move to Delano, California, hoping to practice clinical pharmacy in an underserved community setting. Tell me about that dream and how this all starts.
It was actually while I was in pharmacy school.
Okay.
What happened is this gentleman in Delano knew of my family, and he was Japanese American, and he went through the internment camps during World War II.
Oh, wow.
And what he did, his story was fascinating in itself.
Mm,
He had his pharmacy already, so he had already graduated pharmacy school, had his pharmacy, was starting his career, and actually owned the business.
okay.
And when he got the notice, you only had 2 weeks, and you had to pack only what you could carry, which was 2 suitcases, and everything else had to either be liquidated or managed by someone else.
Oh, jeez.
So what he did, and he didn't know if he was going to be able to come back, but he had to try to come back.
Yeah.
So he went to the bank, got all his money, cash out, buried it behind the building, and put concrete over it.
Oh, wow.
Then he had a Caucasian friend come check it every so often while he was gone, and he didn't know how long he was going to be gone.
Yeah, no kidding.
So when he was able to finally return, about 2.5, 3 years later, he and his friend broke the concrete slab with a sledgehammer,
Yeah, jackhammer or something. Yeah. Jeez.
and then walked the cans to the bank.
Wow. How long was that? How long did the money stay buried? How long was he in the camp?
3 years.
Oh man, jeez. Wow.
And so he wanted to sell his pharmacy to somebody whose family went through a similar type of thing and was able to recover. So he heard about me being in pharmacy school.
Was your family, was any of your parents or anybody else in
Oh, yes.
Okay.
My grandfather, uncles.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you're from a line of of pharmacists?
No. Oh, you mean pharmacists? No.
Oh, now I see. Okay, so this was internment camps. Yes. So
yes.
Okay. Wow. But were any of them though also involved in medicine?
No.
No. Okay.
I have cousins that are doctors, pharmacists, etc., in healthcare.
Okay.
But not my dad's generation.
Got it. Okay.
They're only the second generation, so they many of them ended up being on the farm, owning a farm now, or else a business.
Got it.
And so my family had a department store.
Oh, wow. Okay. Family of entrepreneurs.
Yes. Anyway, so he calls me out of the blue. I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
And he explained that story to me. And I said, wow, I have to at least come out and see the place.
Yeah. Brian, before you go on, I just wondered, so no connection. You didn't know him. He didn't know you. How do you think he found you?
He knew of me.
He knew of you because you were a great student?
My dad's friend was a pharmacist who owned another pharmacy in the valley.
Okay, so through the network, I guess.
And through that network, he says, I know a kid who's in pharmacy school.
Okay.
And probably gave him my name and phone number.
Yeah, okay. All right. This is great. And so he reaches out to you and you say...
At first, I wasn't quite sure it's what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
But and UCSF at that time was one of the leading pharmacies. It still is one of the leading pharmacy schools in the country. And everything was going more into the hospital and clinical system.
Okay.
So as I started looking around, though, nobody was doing it in the community setting. So I went out there, took a look at his pharmacy. Is a little tiny corner drugstore with 4 employees. But I looked around and I said, this community is bustling and thriving, and it's isolated, and there's nobody, there's not enough healthcare here. And I said, I wonder if I could do clinical pharmacy in a community setting. And as I kept going through school, when I finally graduated in my last year, I made the commitment to purchase it from him.
Can I ask, what is clinical pharmacy in a community setting? What does that mean? What does that entail?
Well, a lot of it's happening now, where you're actually reviewing the patient's profiles, analyzing what the doctors are writing. And the thing about it now, or as healthcare was improving, you had specialty physicians and their fields were getting narrower. So there wasn't really necessarily someone looking at the whole picture of a patient.
Oh, I see.
So you have the cardiologist, you have the person who's taking care of your diabetes. So you have these different healthcare providers, and the number of drugs kept multiplying.
Yeah.
So we study that, and we understand where the side effects and complications can occur. And it was important for someone to be looking at the patient as a whole. And that's what started it. In fact, the first week after we bought the pharmacy, I caught a mistake that a physician made, not knowing there was another problem. And by doing that really helped us by handling that, identifying that for the doctor, and preventing a problem for the patient. Really made a statement for that physician.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I heard that story, and you told me that doctor really at first was a little, eyebrows raised, going, "Wait, who is this? Who is this young whippersnapper telling me, calling me out?" And then said, "Wow, great work! You're doing something meaningful here. Keep up what you're doing." Is that right?
Yeah, In fact, yes. What happened is he's an old Irish doctor. He said that has a temper, and when I called him, he was real gruff and abrupt with me, and he said, "Who's this?" And I said, "I'm the new pharmacist here in Delano." And he goes, before I could describe what I was doing, he said, "Oh, a young whippersnapper." And and I said, "Okay." But then I explained the situation, and actually he was temperamental, so he just said fine and hung up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And my clerk goes, "Brian, that doctor's the busiest doctor in Delano."
Oh,
But
and
at
it,
5:30 that evening, he comes walking in the pharmacy, and before I could get the nerve to come up there, get ready, before I could say a word to him, he says, "We need you. Thank you
mm,
for intervening."
wow.
So he's, that really made the statement for me. That says I made the right decision.
Yeah, and then from there you were off to the races. It sounds like, right?
Well, he actually helped me. He introduced me to all the physicians in town and said, "You listen to this young kid."
Wow. How did you balance, the idea of growing a company to kind of what you've grown it to, but also being, a pharmacist and being that, professional who knows, how did you balance both of them,
Well, so at first, some of the first things that I saw when patients were coming in there were a lot of other things impacting them,
Mm,
and medications weren't necessarily the priority. It was just something that they had to come and pick up.
okay.
So I began to understand that I needed to know a little bit more about what's happening to them
Mm-hmm.
in order to make sure that they prioritize their medications correctly, especially important ones.
Mm,
So, this really is the start, and this started in 1981 when we started business, but healthcare is finally taking this kind of angle and saying population health and looking at the population as a whole. If someone has to put food on their table, is forced to put food on their table, and trying to meet their rent and trying to meet their utilities, those are struggles, and medication and their health is second, third, fourth tier down the road.
right.
So
And yeah.
how am I going to make that a priority unless I'm looking and understanding what they're going through and then trying to fit what they need into that system?
Yeah, it's sort of like a holistic, integrative approach, right? Because sometimes those things aren't even mutually exclusive. Those stressors in life can also be adding to or complicating problems, I would imagine, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you were
So,
you were ahead of your
so
time.
as I'm bringing in pharmacists, I needed to bring them in with that kind of sensitivity.
Mm,
As they step in, then I can step away.
got it. Yeah. So you had this built into the mission, sort of the mission, the culture of the organization. Did you know that this is the business you always wanted to be in? Was the plan always for a Pharma D? Was this sort of a track? How did you, what were you thinking going through Berkeley and taking this
Actually,
pathway?
in junior high school, I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But as a young little kid, one of my older cousins was going through a pathway. She used to babysit us,
Okay.
myself and my brother,
Mm-hmm.
and she was going to UC Berkeley in the 60s. So I would watch the news when I saw Berkeley on the news with the riots and everything to
Yeah.
see if
Yeah.
I could catch and see her. But anyway, she went to Berkeley and then UCSF, and she became a role model for me. She was telling me her interests. She
Mm-hmm.
told me she was really interested in how the chemicals of our body work and how medications change that.
Oh.
And so as I went through high school and started taking the sciences, all of a sudden that started clicking. Her comments, her studies. I said, this is interesting. I seem to be interested in the sciences. So when I went to Berkeley, I enrolled under the Department of Chemistry, but I really was fascinated with the biological chemistry and understanding how our body functions in a, this is an amazing gift we have, life. And they're all chemical reactions. And you're going, wow, and trying to understand that is enormously fascinating for me.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I often think sometimes, right, if I take an ibuprofen or something, I'm like, so this pill is somehow going to, help me in this shoulder. I'm like, how and where? It's like, and that's a conversation you would be able to probably walk us through, but it's
Right.
fascinating. It's fascinating.
And there's always the yin and yang of medicine. So it's got and what it turns on or helps to alleviate also has some adverse effects.
There are trade-offs, right? Always.
Yep. There's always a trade-off.
Yes.
So it's to understand, trying to minimize the problems and maximize the benefit.
Yeah. Well, I know sort of from the timestamp, that of your degrees that I'm just a little bit younger than you, not much. But, I'm 53, and I know at this point in my kind of life and career, I sort of have this vision for where I want to be in the next 10 or 15 years. And I wonder with all of this, is this sort of like where you're at today, going back to those high school days? I'm thinking also just the important role that your family and your cousins have played in a different, couple of different aspects, and where you might have landed if they weren't paving the way for you in some ways. But is this
Correct.
where you envisioned yourself, or have there been any surprises, or since that early day where you're like, this is where I'm headed?
I didn't plan half the things that have occurred to us.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute the success then, or sort of where you're at? What do you attribute that to without a plan?
It's my interest in really working and addressing community needs. What really, one of the key things that triggered it off, this was in the early 90s, probably like around 91, 92. The state of California was thinking of creating a Medi-Cal managed care program. They liked the Kaiser model, and rather than paying fee for service for everything, they wanted managed patient care, but they were going to do it by county. They announced that they were going to do it by each county. And early on, I said, this is our chance to really make something special in our county that addresses the needs. And I was involved in our local community already, and I understood the changes. One of the things that's very unique about the Delano population, and it's very common in rural farm communities, but the population that you see as you're driving by, Delano right now, I think, says something like 54,000. Well, that's January or whenever they take the census.
Right.
During harvest season, like the summer, it almost doubles.
Wow, jeez.
So you're seeing an influx of people who many of them have medical problems, that have issues in getting their medications now. And it's those kind of things I felt I could help the county understand better because I was so involved in how they were working within the community. I mean, some of our good customers were farmers who had, these small homes for the migrant population. So, on their properties, and they're vacant in the wintertime, but they're not during the spring and summer.
Right.
And so, I began to see what was happening, and they would be bringing in some employees who either were sick or hurt, and we would be helping and managing them when they couldn't get into the doctor.
Yeah. Well, you've obviously identified some great opportunities. You've taken advantage of them and built something great there that I'm sure the community really appreciates and relies on at this point. So, Brian, let's take a quick break because when we come back, I want to dig in a little bit deeper on that and really find out what's been underneath the surface for you this entire time. I think we all have something that drives us kind of sort of under the hood. I call it the underswell. So I want to find out what yours is and get some advice from you for early journey career builders. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the episode. I'm always so inspired and motivated by these career stories, and I hope you are too. And I wonder, are you looking to be featured on the show? Each week, I chat with an invited guest who is an expert in their space or who has compiled a stellar resume. If you fit that description and are interested in being a guest, just hit me up at Derek Sabori on LinkedIn. And here's something else to consider. This show platform is for hire. I build professional and personal podcast profiles for people who are looking to stand out in a crowded marketplace. You've heard my guests say it's your personality, the way you connect with people, and your ability to relate and communicate that will help land that next job, client, or customer. So let's show off your personality, not just your resume, and let's do it on a podcast. Head over to theunderswell.com to learn more. And now back to the show. Brian, like I was saying, I call this show The Underswell because I think underneath our success, any success is something that drives us. I think it's different for all of us, but what would you say your underswell is? What do you think has driven you this whole time?
I think my underswell is really trying to help the community. It true, that and also mentoring and teaching. So that my first stimulus of what I wanted to become does play a role again.
Yeah.
Because I want to train now. I'm putting more time into the mentoring and teaching of what I know to students and kids and even my employees. So that way they can grow because you're constantly learning. And I feel that, we should never stop learning. And when you could pass it on, then that gives those people a step ahead.
Yeah.
And can help them move forward.
I love that you're sort of fulfilling that early vision, just sort of in a different way, in a roundabout way, right? I think that's really cool that you were able to, I love that. You mentioned earlier that you went to UC Berkeley. I mean, you've got a great, education, amazing degrees, UC Berkeley, UC San Francisco. But besides just the degrees themselves, how important was your college experience to you and your career? And I think I ask because I think a lot of young people today are sort of they're in the news, right? People are second guessing it. They're questioning the value of it. If it's too expensive, do I really need a degree? So talk to me about the importance of it for you.
It changed who I was.
How so?
Berkeley really taught me how to think. Before that, when I was in high school, it was more like regurgitating what you learned.
Sure. Yeah.
You're just pretty much memorizing the basics and just regurgitating the basics.
Yeah.
When I got to college, all of a sudden you're taught to think more abstractly, and you have to piece things together to get things to work or to solve a problem. And that was one of the key things that I think Berkeley taught me. Also, I had to start writing papers, and that taught me to be more creative. Because in order to make a difference off the same book everybody else is reading, is you had to be creative in how you looked at that paper or book.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so I became more creative from that. I also became a better writer.
Yeah. And I'm sure, geez, you just learn how to manage those writings, those papers in a shortened time period. You've got to get things done. You've got to manage your time. You've got to juggle all the different courses. I mean, it is, pressure. It's a pressure cooker, and you've got to be able to get through it all, right? So you learn.
Well, time management is critical. And you want to go to the game if you're at at a big university like that.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you've got to be able to figure out, okay, how am I going to work this in?
Yeah, really life skills that can be applied for sure. Well, obviously, I'm a big fan as well, so but I always love to get a Brace perspective on it. What do you think for young people, for individuals who might just maybe they're recently graduating, maybe they're transitioning into a new degree or they want to a new path? What do they need to know? I guess what set of skills? I know you appreciate mentoring, so what are you looking for? Maybe in new employees, or what do you see in younger employees? But sort of those soft skills, what are the things that people need today, and what are you seeing maybe lacking or otherwise?
There's a few. What I see lacking the most is they went through some of the early college courses or through college
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing they did in high school, which was pretty much memorizing
Ah,
and doing things just for the test,
got it. Yeah, yeah.
right? Or just for the grade. That's not how life works.
Mm,
What you have to do in life is you have to use the things you're learning and being able to apply it to the next step. And that's what I see a lot of students missing.
interesting.
They could show you their grades, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't. It's more in the conversation and the interview that I can tell, because we ask questions that cause them to think and have to piece some things together. And by doing that, I could see, did they really learn? Did they really learn to process? Did they really learn to think? And that's what I'm looking for.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter. In fact, I've seen one of our regents was a humanities major that became a physician.
Oh, wow.
So your undergraduate degree is just that. It's a degree for a start,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
commencement is just a start. Now you need to be able to use what you learn. And my dad told me something in junior high school, and I didn't understand it till I got through college. He said, education is what's left after you've forgotten everything.
Huh. I like that. I think I understand what he's saying. How did you interpret
Yeah.
that?
I couldn't interpret it at
Yeah,
that
at that
time.
time, yeah.
Yeah. And for some reason it dawned on me, maybe it was at commencement or something, that phrase dawned on me, and I said, I get it now.
Mm. Yeah, I can't help as you kind of walk through this. I'm visualizing this idea as you go through college, as you're pressured through it. You're sort of collecting maybe these building blocks and you're putting them up on a shelf. And when you go out into the real world, you can either decide to use those building blocks and bring them to the problem. But if you're just leaving them on the shelf, then you're sort of, like you said, not being creative. You're not thinking through it. And you want to be able to say, hey, I know I've learned all these things. How do I apply it to everything else in life and show that I've really learned and I'm utilizing these tools that I have? I think it's a great way to put it. I appreciate what you're saying. Brian, let's say for you, looking back on the last 5, maybe 10 years or so, or further, as you scan sort of the professional decisions that you've made, what you've accomplished, what do you think you've learned about yourself?
Well, I'm impatient. I'm a fairly impatient person.
Okay.
So one of the things is sometimes I rush to create something. A good example of this is during COVID, we were ready to test for COVID. Uh, Even before the testing came out
Oh,
that we
really?
could get. Yes, I had our staff read about it, understand what the process was going to be, prepare our team so we had a space for it. Anyway, when it finally came out and we had it in the pharmacy in Delano, few people were testing.
Hmm.
And I go, what's going on? We had banners on the windows.
You're
You
like,
know, you
let's
could
go.
find
Let's
it.
go.
Okay, right.
You're right. Yeah.
So I went to the Farm Worker Foundation. We do things in the community. So I went to the Farm Worker Foundation and I talked to the director and I said, hey, why aren't people coming to get tested? And he said, Brian, do you know what the problem is with finding out the result?
Yeah, it means no
And
work.
they're off for 10 days.
Yeah,
When it came out, they had to wait 10 days without work. And when in the fields, being gone 10 days, you do not get paid.
right. Yeah.
And I said, holy smokes.
Mm,
I didn't understand the environment.
right.
So, I learned that you have to really figure out what are the community needs. And so vaccinations, when the vaccine came out, we had to do a lot of work to get it. But when we finally got it, we went out in the fields and they wanted it. They wanted the shot.
Well, that's good.
So the opposite occurred there
Yeah.
because it prevented them from getting sick.
So it was
They
helpful.
could work, right. If they could work and felt like they were well enough to work, they'd go to work.
Yeah. So I think it's one thing to learn about yourself, and we start to evolve and change and kind of go, okay, so I know how to handle situations differently. I feel like as time goes on, we start to get better at sort of like, okay, I know how I approach this, so here's how I'm going to do it going forward. But I think from the business side, the degrees, I guess, what lessons are there lessons that you've learned from this whole process? Maybe not about yourself, but just in general, like do this, don't do this. Here's what I've learned. Here's some lessons I can pass on.
Yes. And I've seen this in most of our failures.
Mm.
A lot of the failures occur because you come up with ideas and you try to implement them. That's not the way the community may handle it. You need to understand your community. And when you address a problem in the community, that tends to work. So if you find a healthcare issue in the community that's not being met, and you meet it, all of a sudden those kind of things become successful.
So work with your stakeholders first, kind of work with your constituents and understand their needs, and then meet those needs as opposed to trying to solve a problem that they may or may not. Back to the COVID testing, right? I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
It's those things because I talk to students. They go, "Oh, I have this great business idea."
Says who is probably
yes.
what you're thinking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I've had hundreds of them."
Yeah. Right. You and me both. My wife is always like, just one thing at a time. Just one thing at a time.
And when you put it on paper and start trying to implement it, if it doesn't have what the community needs or doesn't trigger an interest by the community, it goes nowhere.
Yeah, and then that's a lot of time and resources wasted, sometimes money wasted on something that nobody wanted or nobody needed.
Right.
That's it.
Sometimes great. It's a timing thing, but
yeah.
A lot of times it's getting a sense of the community. It really is. And so I always try to get a pulse of the community, and they always end up bringing me things. They know that I'm a problem solver now, and so they come to me with the problem. So they're giving me ideas that actually address things that are important.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's good. Those are good reminders. Well, let's try to, Brian, we'll start to wrap this thing up with, I like to kind of zero in. You've given a whole bunch of great stories or a lot of great lessons to take away from all of this. But if we had to kind of narrow this down, I know you speak with young people, you've got whether it's employees, you're talking to students, you're engaging with alumni, but sort of what are 3 things that you want them to keep in mind? Whether this is somebody who's, again, early in their career journey, they want to build a career like yours. What do you want them to focus on? Remember, let's narrow it down for them.
Okay. I tell my employees, find something that really interests you or makes you passionate about. Because when you find that, it's no longer a job to fix it. It's no longer a job to come to. It's you're interested. So that's one thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Two, never be satisfied with the status quo.
Mm.
That's what Berkeley taught me. Challenge the status quo. So if there's a process that everybody's used to solve that issue, you need to recheck to make sure that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Maybe it can be done better, differently.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And many times it can be.
Don't settle.
Yep.
And don't assume, I guess, just because something is there that it's right or good or that it can't be improved upon.
The third, and I think this is really important, is to smile and enjoy the ride.
Mm.
A lot of people are serious, and they have to find the good even in the failures, because the failures are actually where I learn more than the things that succeed. I understand better the population, how things interact, how, what I could have done differently. So you learn a lot more. And I don't get frustrated with those things as much as I initially did. So now I smile a lot whenever I go into our operations, and my staff go, "What? Why are you always so happy?" And I said, "Do you want to work for a boss that isn't?"
Yeah, no kidding.
And they go, "No." I
Keep
said,
smiling.
"This is what happens." I said, "When I grab the door to walk in to any of my operations," I said, "it's showtime.
Mm.
You need to be an example of what you want them to be." And so I change my behavior, and I try to greet everybody I see and make them feel like they're a part of something special.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, going through your website, I know you've got a whole, sort of your mission, the culture and the values that you stick by. And I'm sure you kind of express that in your personal delivery and who you are and how you show up every day. I'm sure it's contagious over there.
We have people, like I said, one girl, 16, she started with us, 16 years of age.
That's amazing.
She's now in her 50s. She'll be retiring. The first girl we ever hired in 1981 retired from us about 3-4 years ago.
Wow, that's a big deal. I don't know how many companies have that, but can say that. So congratulations on that. You've obviously created something special. You mentioned these failures that can be our biggest life lessons. Is there any recent failure or failures that you're willing to share, or that are off the top of your head that are like good ones that you really learned from?
The COVID one definitely was.
Yeah. That's a good one. A good reminder.
I do have. I mean, we have failures in some of the things that we're trying to manage on a day-to-day business because of the current reimbursement environment that pharmacies are facing. So you're seeing pharmacies, closing, and it's trying to meander through that. And people are going, "Oh, this is such a difficult and hard time." I said, it's also a time to learn.
Yeah.
It's a time for us to understand, are there better ways and more efficient ways we could do things to try to collapse this thing and stay afloat. So it's those that can adjust that'll eventually survive through this. I just hope it it gets fixed before before everybody's gone.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, it sounds like you're learning every day. You're always evolving. Well, Brian, I'll wrap it up here so you can get back to it all. But anything on the horizon that we should be looking out for from you? Are you excited about anything that's coming up? You got any big plans in the future?
Yes, I feel there's something hopefully coming up soon. It's called Test and Treat. Vaccines were something that happened just within the last few years, and COVID was the reason for it. But now you'll be able to if you feel sick, pretty soon you'll be able to come into a pharmacy, test for yourself if you have strep, strep, flu, and COVID, and you can get the treatment for it.
So if you start to feel that tickle or something weird where you're just like, I woke up today, I'm not feeling it, something's off, and you can go get tested, and you're like, let's catch it early, and we'll get it to you.
So those are some of the amazing things now,
Yeah.
where the testing is going to be more consumer driven.
I like that.
And convenient.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to get into a doctor's office, and a lot of times they don't want you there anyway. They isolate you and because they don't want the rest of their patients to get sick.
Yeah. I always feel bad. Like, I don't go to the doctor until I'm really feeling sick. And by then I'm like, I'm sorry I'm here. Like, because I'm exposing you, but I need to know what's going on and I need to go get it taken care of. So I love that. That's cool. All right. We'll have to keep our eyes out for that. Well, Brian, this is the last thing I like to do. I call this an open mic, where I like to give you the last minute for anything you want to cover, whether it's your opportunity for shout outs, call outs, recommendations maybe that you have, apologies, shameless plugs, whatever it is. The last minute is yours to take us home. So I pass the mic to you.
Actually, I used it a little earlier, and that is really, enjoy the ride. It's life brings you all these fascinating things in front of you. Experience them. Even when you're going through college, you gotta smell the roses while you're walking through them. Don't worry about the thorns. The thorns, you'll have to deal with. You could deal with them, but smell the roses.
Love it. Well, I do this show with my kids always in mind, right? I've got an 18 and a 21-year-old. A lot of this is like so I can pass, so they don't always have to hear it from me. They can get other great advice and good things from other people who are doing great things. So that one I'll pass along. So Brian, thank you so much. Thanks for making time for being on the show and giving us your insights and your advice.
Well, thanks for the invitation.
Quite welcome.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. Thank you so much. And hey, have a great weekend. Enjoy a nice bottle of wine this weekend. And I'll see you at the next alumni meeting. Talk to you soon, Brian. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what you heard, be sure to check back weekly, subscribe to the show. And if you want to be featured on the show, come hit us up at theunderswell.com. We'd love to hear from you.